We got work to do.
Welcome to Highway to Hell, a supernatural podcast. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Christine.
And this week we're discussing Season 4, Episode 18, The Monster at the End of This Book.
Yay!
Which has a really adorable reference that I had no idea about. But Christine thankfully showed me what it was all about, and I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah, thankfully my parents read me the Grover from Sesame Street kids book when I was a kid. Oh, it's so cute.
You I think found it online and you showed me a few pages and it looks so adorable and I can't wait to buy it.
I told you I'm going to read it to your kid. It's happening.
Yeah, because I think you would definitely have a better Grover voice than I do.
I'll have to practice. Oh, that'd be so cute.
All of my accents, I told you recently, come out sounding Irish for some reason, or Scottish.
An Irish Grover.
Exactly.
I love it.
But this episode is the one where Dean and Sam discover a comic book series. That's not true. It's a book series. It's not a comic book series.
That's weird. It was in a comic book shop, but
yeah.
Wrong.
Google, you didn't get that right.
Wrong.
But a book series that accurately details their lives. Semicolon. Chuck reveals that Lilith has a plan for Sam. So not the greatest description, but
it's not very intriguing.
No.
It doesn't make me like want to find out more.
Yeah, and like we just got introduced to Chuck. Like, who's Chuck, you know?
Yeah, this means
for it
nothing
to be in an episode description, right? But I was so looking forward to getting to this episode, so excited about it. I had to have like mentioned it a few times, like, well, I can't wait to this episode and the meta-ness of the show and this and that.
Yeah.
It's great. It's so great.
It is really great. It was very clever.
Yeah.
It was just well done.
It was like super well done. And I did like read a little bit more about like the decision for the episode. So it's the executive story editor, Julie Siege, who worked on this episode. She says that whenever we're looking for story ideas, Eric says, come up with a movie you like and we'll do the supernatural twist on that. So that explains a lot of like Groundhog Day, Mystery Spot type stuff that's happened. So Nancy Weiner came up with, what if we do a version of Stranger Than Fiction? And as we were talking about what that would look like, I know it's so good.
It's so good. It's one of my favorite like first date movies, or like if you like have someone you like to introduce them to that movie, like a romantic night at home, because it's so cute.
Yeah. It is cute. Is it Maggie Gyllenhaal in that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Will Ferrell's great.
And Emma Thompson?
Yes. As the author. So oh my God. Very, very good. Yeah. So they say that Sarah Gambo and I both independently and simultaneously came up with this idea that since we're in this season that's all about mythology and prophecy, he's got to be a prophet. That was the thing that really grounded the concept and made it very relevant for the entire mythology.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So it's like, I love that it just came about, like, just, you know, hey, come up with a fun idea. And then they were able to tie it to the entire mythology behind the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that it just seemed like, obviously, if they both had the same idea at the same time, it's very natural. It just fits in perfectly with what's happening. You know, it was just kind of like an organic thing. It was so organic.
It was pretty organic. And they really they went with it. Like they didn't, you know, stop at just like the show itself being a part of, you know, the series now, but they also went into the fandom. I think
Yeah.
that's what really sells it, you
That
know?
was crazy. Well, and it's also awesome because it shows self-awareness. Like this show has been going along. We've just been watching it. You know, we're just outsiders, but they totally broke that fourth wall. And at the same time demonstrated that they completely understood their fan base and like what was happening at that time and how hilarious it was.
Yes. Yeah,
Just full
exactly.
acknowledgement of like everything ridiculous that, you know, had maybe come up about it.
Right. But it's also, I mean, it's kind of like poking fun a little bit at the like the silliness, some silliness from the fans, but also like in a loving way.
Yeah,
Um
like there's nothing wrong with it. But they were just like, oh God.
right. Especially like the criticism that they may get here and there. I mean, it's just it's so well done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um So really quickly before we get more into the episode, just a few quick announcements that we've mentioned before. So one is that we finally have our reaction video slash drinking game up for It's a Terrible Life, the last episode we talked about. So it took about like 9 times me trying to upload it onto YouTube, but it's finally up there and it has not been taken down or blocked.
Oh, thank God.
I know
Good
it was
job.
such a struggle. I was like in tears pulling
Yeah.
out my hair this entire week.
A week-long pain in the ass.
Pretty much, but I mean it's so it's so good. I love it so much seeing you and Gerardo getting wasted on while watching this episode. It's great.
And Kristen was like, yeah, there are some parts later where there are definitely things that happened where it was supposed to be like you take a shot or something and we did the wrong thing. And I was like, oh man, we were obviously already kind of drunk and just not reading the instructions carefully. We were just like, just do whatever.
Yeah,
Is this a sip? Yeah, sure.
I took it. Yeah, there were a few points where you were like really enjoying your margaritas, and it was just like, "Is this a sip?" Yeah, I think it's a sip. Yeah, let's just take a sip here.
I don't know. Do you want to take a drink? Sure. Okay, then it's a drink.
Exactly. But we also, Christine and I, we also watched this episode, The Monster at the End of This Book, together. So that's going to be up sometime this week. Hopefully I don't have as many issues putting it up there. But all of that's on Patreon for our $5 patrons. And you can find that at patreon.com/Highway to Hell podcast. So go and check it out. Become a patron. You'll help us out just, you know, a little bit a month.
Yeah. Watch us make fools of ourselves on camera. Totally worth it.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun watching them. The other thing is that we do have our survey out. So every season we do a survey where we want to hear about what your thoughts are for the entire season. So our season 4 survey is out right now. It also has some questions about the Patreon content, what you want to see, if you like the things that we're doing currently, because we want to do stuff that you enjoy watching or listening to, etc. So you can find that at www, and maybe you don't need the www, I don't know.
No, I think I tried it and you can do it without.
Great. So just put in to your toolbar bit.ly /highway, spelled HWY, S4 survey. So that's highway S4 survey. If that's difficult for you to put into the toolbar, we have it posted on our social media and on our Patreon and also on our website. So you can find it there too. Yeah, I don't have any updates. I'm still on 90 Day Fiance.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. It's so, well, it's bad.
Yeah.
But it's awesome.
I know. You started watching it and
I started watching it with John
discussions.
and I was telling Kristen it was so funny because he had to leave and I was obviously like about to pull up something to watch on Netflix or on Hulu and he was like, don't watch 90 Day Fiance without me. was like, okay. He's so into it.
Oh my God.
And we have to like pause it like throughout the episodes to talk about it because we just can't keep it in. It's just like, oh my God, what is happening right now?
Yeah. Yeah. I had gotten Jose into it like for a little bit, but he finds it too cringy to watch.
I get that. It might get cringier too. I mean, it's got
Season
potential.
season 2 is pretty cringy
Oh
for
God.
sure.
Oh.
But yeah, he's like, do not watch that in front of me now. You are not allowed to put that on.
Can't take it.
Nope.
Well, highly recommend.
Yes. Highly recommend watching it. It's crazy ridiculous.
And then John found this meme that was like, when people criticize you watching 90 Day Fiancé, and it's a picture of this possum like on top of a trash can, like hissing, and it says, "Don't touch my trash."
It is pure trash, but I love it. It's great.
Everybody's so defensive of their trash.
No, yeah. It's my Real Housewives, you know? Like I never got into Housewives, but so this episode, it was written by Julie Siege and Nancy I said Weiner earlier, but it might be Weiner. So
That's
sorry.
probably Weiner. I feel like that's I've heard that before. I mean,
yeah.
That's maybe fairly unfortunate, but I think it's a thing.
But I think Nancy, she came up with the story idea, and then Julie Siege actually like wrote the script. Nancy's a writer's assistant, actually. And then it was directed by Mike Roll, who lasted on the head of a pin. So just 2 episodes ago, he directed. And that was such a different episode, really, because it was action packed and it was crazy shit. I do have a few facts about the production, but I think I'll save them for later. The biggest thing really is that, I mean, we're introduced to him right away, but we have a new character, and he's played by Rob Benedict, who Christine finally knows who the fuck this guy is.
Yeah, you were waiting for us to get here because we went to the convention, and I was like, all right, this guy is, I guess he's a big deal. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know who he is.
Why
he's
is
all
he
over the place.
Yeah, why is he here? Like, why is he talking this entire time?
You're not Jared.
Right. You're not Dick. Like, come on. Just I want to hear Richard talk instead.
Mm-hmm. It was pretty funny, but I get it now. We're there. I get it.
Yes.
But then unfortunately I also did receive a spoiler at the convention that I will not talk about, but so I kind of knew why he would be important later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But but there was no background. And I was like, okay, cool. Thanks.
Right. So we're at the starting point. We kind of have figured out where his end point will be, unfortunately. But it's That's all
okay.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot happening in between, I'm sure.
Well, for sure. And he, as I mentioned, is played by Rob Benedict. He's come out in a lot of TV shows. He actually played like a random vampire in 2 episodes of Buffy, which is pretty cool.
That's cool. That's kind of fun to put on your resume, right? I was a Buffy vampire.
Just a random vampire.
Vamp number 2.
Yeah, it was season 4. After that, he came out. I have seen him in Not Another Teen Movie.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, he plays Preston, who's like the guy he's having a party at his house. But other than that, I think the biggest thing that I remember him from is obviously Waiting. Did you watch Waiting?
Oh, he was in Waiting.
Yes.
He was in Waiting.
The guy
Because I felt like he looked familiar, but he seems so different. It's a very different character.
It's a very different character. Because is it that his character is like really in love with someone, or like just can't get any girl?
I think it's like kind of more like that. I haven't seen it in a really long time, but he's just kind of like gross.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just like really weepy and just
Uh-huh. Oh, I
almost
think he's the guy. And I think he's also the guy who has a problem because he went to the bathroom one time and he was at the urinal and this guy was staring at his dick and he has like a complex about it now and now he can't go pee in the public bathroom.
Is that his character?
I think that's him. He can't pee.
Okay. That's great. What a ridiculous thing.
It's totally absurd. It's totally absurd.
Yeah.
That movie is just
it's trash, but I love it.
Yeah, it's hard for me to watch because it is the restaurant industry. And I had a very short stint in working in restaurants, and one of the ones I worked at was it's closed now because it was so disgusting. It was like this restaurant where everybody who worked there was just like so stereotypically like those characters, and it was disgusting. So it just reminds me of that, and it's kind of hard to watch sometimes. It's like, oh
yeah,
why can this not be so real?
I know.
Yeah.
Ew. But we don't have any like recap for this episode. We're just introduced to him right away. And he's like super scruffy. He's like in a robe. He's asleep on his living room couch. And suddenly we see him get all these flashes like he's having nightmares. And we later find out, of course, it's actually Sam and Dean in the comic book store discovering these books and then also talking to the publisher. But we see Sam and Dean in these flashes as well. But that's just how it starts. And it's like, okay, all right, let's move on forward. Cold open. Yeah. So we jump to the comic book store where Sam and Dean enter with looking dapper. Sharp. Mm-hmm. Looking real fine in these like winter jackets, coats, right? Like Patrick Bateman style.
These are like total like FBI sexy trench coats. It's like, hey, what are you doing?
They look real good.
Yeah.
They've definitely upped their budget for their suits. That's for sure.
For the costumes.
So they walk up to the clerk and announce themselves as Agents Young and DeShaw. And Sam asks if he's seen anything strange in the building the last couple of days. According to some tenants, they've reported flickering lights. And they're like running through like a list of possible ghost side effects. Sam is like really pointed with all these questions. He's like, I think Dean like asks, have you heard any skittering in the walls? Like maybe rats or something. And then Sam's like, yeah, any cold spots that you felt here? The clerk's like, what the fuck are these questions? Why are FBI agents into rats? But as soon as Sam asks about the cold spots, he's like, I knew it. You guys are LARPing. You're fans. And he looks,
live action role play.
Yeah, he has to explain it. And he like looks at these like fancy ass suits and he's like, pretty hardcore too. He's like, you're asking questions like the building's haunted, like supernatural. What are their names? Steve and Dirk, Sal and Dane. And Sam is like, Sam and Dean? And the clerk is like, that's it. And he says they didn't sell a lot of copies though, kind of an underground following, which is.
And then we're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Supernatural. What the fuck?
Yeah. Also, side note, I think DeShaw and Young, I looked that up a while ago, and they're members of the band Styx. So
yes. Yeah. I know he had mentioned, like, the clerk, that was another pointer. He was like, that's
oh, yeah, like code names or whatever, like rock and roll code names or what did he say?
Something like that. Yeah. And also what's interesting is like, because he's trying to figure out their names and he says Sal and Dane. And actually Sal and Dane are characters from Jack Kerouac's On the Road, which Kripke based like the concept of like, supernatural being on the road and everything from that book. And he took their names.
I don't know that I knew that.
I feel like I briefly mentioned it in the first episode, but not the name part. That was new to me. So he just changed Sal to Sam because he was like, that doesn't.
And Dane to Dean.
Yeah.
Cool.
So He gets up and he finds the books in the bargain bin. Did you notice that?
Yeah, clearance.
Yeah, they were on clearance, so they're not doing too well. And he hands Dean the first book in the series. It's just called Supernatural, and it's by Carver Edlund, which
I was very
refers
proud of us. We
to-
were immediately like, oh, Ben Edlund and Jeremy Carver. Good
Yeah.
job, guys.
Yes, I love that they combine the names. It sounds great too. Like,
It does. It's a perfect pen name.
let me name my baby Carver. It sounds
Yeah.
great.
I might add that to the list.
Yeah. The book cover. I said book carver.
The book cover.
The book cover is set in front of a large house in the distance with a bright full moon and some like cloudy skies, and there's some like bare, creepy, dead trees. The Impala is in the corner, and what are supposed to be Sam and Dean are standing in front.
So good.
Dean has like this black sleeveless shirt on, and he's like super buff.
Super buff, yeah.
He doesn't look like Dean, you know, like he looks a little bit different in the face. But he's also carrying something on his shoulder, and I couldn't tell what it was. It looked like a sack or something.
Ew.
I don't know what it was. But what's the craziest thing about this cover is Sam. And he's shirtless. Basically Fabio. He's blonde.
Yes. Yeah.
Long hair.
Flowing.
Yeah, it's like
locks.
flowing in the wind.
Yeah.
It
It looks like the
and there's
cover
a
of a
shotgun
romance
in his hand.
novel.
Yes, it does. It really does. But it's
Awesome.
It's such a because we love Sam for his hair, you know, he has beautiful hair, but
Mhm.
this is taking it to the next level.
Sam in the extreme.
Yes. And Dean turns the book around and it says on the back, along a lonely California highway, a mysterious woman in white lures men to their deaths, a terrifying phenomenon that may be Sam and Dean's first clue to their father's whereabouts.
Pardon?
Well, but also might I say, like, great description. Like,
Yeah.
that should have been the IMDb description.
Yeah.
Right?
Can we go back?
Yeah.
And like put that into the episode.
For real, though.
That is
Pretty
really good. Uh-huh. Well written.
But it also just, like, it's written like a romance novel. It really is.
Mm-hmm. Very dramatic.
Uh-huh. But yeah, like, what the fuck? That's the very first episode.
Yeah, excusez-moi.
And
What?
Sam immediately, like, makes a face as soon as he says woman in white. It's like, oh, shit. Yeah, that happened. So Sam and Dean look so confused, and Dean tells the clerk, we're going to need all the Supernatural copies you've got. So what follows is our title page for the episode. It's like a flash of a bunch of different covers. So we see Scarecrow. I think we see Wendigo. It looks like some sort of weird werewolfish monster.
Mm-hmm.
Route 666,
Yes.
The Benders. In our special title card, which just says Supernatural by Carver Edlund. So that's how we start the episode, and it's so good.
I was really excited. I was like, I have no fucking idea what's happening, and I love it.
Yeah.
Please continue to confuse me.
Please. It's so good already.
Yeah.
So the next scene we see Sam and Dean are pouring through these books in the hotel room. Sam is reading Route 666, and he's like, how the fuck did this guy know all of this? He's like, to the racist truck, to me having sex. It's all in here. And I feel like the racist truck thing like
was
just a
awesome because
nod.
they never and in that episode it wasn't described that way, like so bluntly, but
No.
we described it that way because we were like, what the fuck, a racist monster truck, really?
Yeah, what is this bullshit, basically?
And that's
And
what
they're
he's
basically
saying.
yeah, they're basically calling it out too, which is
I loved
great.
it made me feel really validated.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm full frontal in here, basically.
It seems like gross.
Oh my god. Hashtag girl on top. That's when we see it.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam has been doing research. He's on his laptop. He says the publisher started putting them out in 2005, which is when the show started. he put out, or the publisher put out a couple dozen before going bankrupt. And we see the list that's on his laptop, and you can see all of the episode names. And Sam says the last one that was written and put out was No Rest for the Wicked, which ends with Dean going to hell. So it's just down to the episode by episode. Like, it's really detailed. It's great.
And it's their lives, and it's what we've been watching, and it's crazy.
Yes, exactly.
It's also very like, well, I was going to say it's very never-ending story, but that's kind of a little different because then he ends up being in it at the end. But whatever.
Yeah, but
because he's still reading their lives, you know, like of the other characters that end up being real for him.
Yeah, and there's that moment when he does like start reading himself reading Neverending Story.
Yeah,
right.
And he's like, "Whoa,
like what the fuck?" God, and then he gets scared. Yeah. So Dean says, check it out. There's actually fans, although for fans, they sure do complain a lot. And it's this page that's like the screen of a forum. And I like paused this part and really looked at everything that was written on there. So first, it's like kind of like a chat room, right? So there's different comments from people, and each member is actually categorized. But we have first Super Dean Girl 8, who says, I love Dean forever and ever. He was awesome in Wendigo. Which is a great little comment.
Yeah.
Which is also funny because I don't think that we felt like he was awesome in Wendigo.
I don't think we felt like anything was awesome in Wendigo.
Yeah, it was just kind of a whatever episode.
And we had a lot of problems with it because it seemed like it was so choppy and weird. It was like, we were not impressed.
No, we weren't.
Nothing was connected.
Simpatico says the demon storyline is trite, cliched, and overall craptastic. Which Dean reads that one out loud because he's like, fuck you, basically, you know? Which is, I think, basically Kripke like coming out and saying like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you for saying that.
It's awesome.
Queen fan Sam says, Sam and Dean are so hot. I like them both so much. Sometimes, and then it cuts off.
Oh my God.
I don't know what it was going to say.
Oh my God. Sometimes
but I can just
what,
imagine.
Girl?
Yeah, sometimes you do what alone.
When you're thinking about them.
Right. And so, like I mentioned, each member is categorized as a Dean fan, a Sam fan, or a Slash fan. And Dean's like, what's a Slash fan? And Sam's like, well, it's as in Dean / Sam, like together.
And Dean's like, oh God.
What do they know we're brothers?
Dean, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
It doesn't matter.
You're beautiful people.
Yeah. Get over it, honey.
So I love that. Obviously, such a nod to the fans.
Funny. And the shipping and everything. It was just hilarious.
Yeah. And we've obviously talked about like whether we're Dean or Sam girls and stuff like that. So there we go. Sam and Dean just want to get to the bottom of what's happening and who the fuck Carver Edlin is. So they go to the series publisher. So they're talking to Sarah Siege, who her name is Sarah Gamble, and Julie Siege, the writer of this episode, put together. And I just have to mention, she has this crazy, like, half blonde, half brown hair.
It's really weird.
It's a choice. It reminded me of Josie and the Pussycats.
Choice.
Yeah. Have you seen Josie and the Pussycats?
Man, I have, but not since it like came out. When was that?
Oh wow, that was a long time ago.
I would probably suggest I think I was in middle school or something.
You rewatch it because I feel like when it came out, I was kind of like, oh, this is fun, and you probably think it's really stupid now, but it's still really good.
All right.
Yeah. But there's this character who has like half, like a weird highlights going on, and she's called like a skunk, basically.
Yeah.
But, and apparently, the woman who plays Sarah Siege, She actually came out in the episode The Usual Suspects. That's when we last saw her. She played a different character, obviously, but her name is Keegan Connor Tracy. I don't think I recall who she played in that one, but
I don't know.
just a note. She's been on the show before.
Cool.
So they're posing as fans of the book, and Dean has to stop her from getting excited about possibly publishing some more books by saying, that the last one was really great with Dean dying and all. And Sarah's just like, oh, it was one of my favorites. Dean was so strong and sad and brave. And Sam, I mean, the best parts are when they cry, like in Heart, when Sam has to kill Madison, his first love after Jessica. And in Home, when Dean calls Dad to ask for help.
Oh my God. And that's such a like I don't know how Sam like kept it together, because she's like describing like the most like awful parts of his life.
I know.
As though it's like, not real.
Yeah, he
He's
just
like,
kind of looked a little bit annoyed, like, why is she talking about my life right now?
Yeah, what the fuck?
But I just thought that was really funny because a part of the fandom was apparently like the love for their crying. And obviously here on the podcast, like, we love it when they cry. We count every time they cry.
Yep. Guilty.
Mm-hmm. So Dean just scoffs at Sarah's comments, and that makes her kind of worry that they're not actually there. Because I guess they had actually introduced themselves as like, oh, we're just writing an article about this great book series. And she's worried that they're going to start like trashing the books. Mm-hmm. So she asks them like, hey, like, I don't have to give you any information if you're just going to mess with my boys or something like that.
Yes.
And they're like, no, like we're really big fans. And she starts asking these questions. So she says, oh yeah, so what's the year and model of the car? And Dean's like, 1967 Chevy Impala. Like, he's so proud. Then she asks, what's May 2nd? And Sam is like, that's my Sam's birthday. And then Dean adds, Dean's birthday is January 24th.
just so you know.
Yeah, just so you know, I know this. We've talked about this before, right? That like Sam is a Taurus and Dean is I guess that would be Aquarius, right?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Sam is 100% a Taurus.
Uh-huh. And I think Dean's a pretty prime example of an Aquarius as well.
Yeah. I mostly know like female Aquariuses. I don't know too many male Aquariuses.
I only know one male Aquarius, and I would say they're similar.
How funny.
Yeah.
She asked what Sam's score on the LSAT, which it was 174 apparently. Wow. I guess now we know that, but like that's deep fan knowledge right there.
Hell yeah, it is. We're getting really deep into it right now.
Yeah. And then she asks, what's Dean's favorite song? And he's so happy when he says this. He's like, it's a tie between Zed's Ramble On and Traveling Riverside Blues. She's like, all right, you guys are definitely fans.
Mm-hmm.
And they ask, what she's like, what do you want to know? They immediately ask, what's Carver Edmonds' real name? And she's like, no, I can't tell you that. He's extremely private. He's basically JD Salinger. And Sam starts to unbutton his shirt. And I was like, whoa, like, what are you doing here? Are you like
gonna seduce her?
Yeah. And he says, please, we're really big fans. But then he shows his tattoo on his chest. And then Sam kind of looks over at Dean for him to do the same. And Dean's face is amazing here. He looks so annoyed. But he grudgingly shows her his tattoo. And she gets up and she's like, I have a tattoo also. And she like, I guess, lifts up her skirt and pulls down her pants to show her ass.
And like bends over.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. She has an ass tattoo. of their
Right.
tattoo.
And she's fine with just like showing it to these strange men.
What a weirdo.
Which was fun.
She's fun.
Yeah, that was a fun thing that she did. She says his name's Chuck Shirley, and she gives them the address. So we next see Chuck, who has just printed the latest pages of his book. He reads it out loud, editing as he reads. So he says, like, approach, Sam and Dean approach the rundown. And he's like, no. Let me see. Approach the ramshackle house with trepidation. And as he actually reads, it's actually happening in real life. And Sam and Dean get to Chuck's house. They get up on the porch, and then they ring the doorbell. So Chuck opens the door, and they ask if he's the Chuck that wrote Supernatural. And they introduce themselves as Sam and Dean, who he's been writing about. And Chuck is like, I appreciate the fans, but you need to get a life.
Bye.
Yeah, bye. And he tries to close the door, but I think like Dean just like kicks it open.
Mm-hmm.
And they question him. He's like, they're like, how are you doing it? He freaks out that it may be a misery situation at this point.
He's like, this is misery, isn't it?
Yeah. And he falls back on the couch, but they assure him they're Sam and Dean. So to prove it, they show him the Impala trunk full of guns, rock salt, and fake IDs. And he doesn't totally believe them at this point. But they ask him then if he knows about the angels and the seals. And Chuck kind of stops and he asks how they knew about that since he never published those books. And then he says, did Phil put you up to this? Which is reference to Phil Segretia. Yeah. And Dean says, no, listen, like I'm Dean Winchester and this is my brother, Sam Winchester. And at that point, Chuck is like, whoa, I never told anybody about the last name. Yeah, like I just kept that to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And
damn.
He's like, I believe you now, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
I love it too. It's so good. So once inside the house, he started to drink. And he says, there's only one explanation. I'm a god. How else do you explain it? And then he gets like super guilty. He's like, oh my God, everything I put you guys through, the physical beatings alone. He's like, I killed your father, burned your mother alive, and did the same to Jessica, all for the sake of literary symmetry.
That's awesome.
I know.
He's like, I was just trying to create a story arc.
But Dean reassures him that he didn't create them, like they're real people. He just knows about them for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And he continues and he's like, whoa, did you guys actually have to live through the bugs? Or the ghost ship? Yeah.
I loved that part because it was like, yeah, that sucked, huh?
Yeah. But like he comes out and says it like to live through bad times or whatever is one thing, but to be forced to live through bad writing is horrible.
I love it.
Oh my God.
Again, that full acknowledgement. Like there's no they're under no false pretenses about like how the shows are received.
Yeah.
Or, they can look back. Hindsight is 20/20, right? You look back at a show like Bugs and you're like, damn it.
Right. That was really bad. And
we can't do it over. Sorry, guys.
I think I had read when we did Ghost Ship that Kripke has stated in like multiple interviews that that's his least favorite.
It's his least favorite. Yeah. I remember you saying
the series. That. And which is so, I don't know. That's so interesting. Because like it's not great, but it's not like Bugs, like.
Yeah. That's how we both felt about it. It was like, I mean, it's not good, but it's not that bad.
Right. I thought it was interesting also. One of the things I read in Nicholas Knight's official companion is that Rob Benedict had actually, he says that he's in a band, which we know what band that is now, right?
Yeah.
Although I'm not sure if it was the same band. I'm assuming so. Maybe I
don't know.
One of you listeners can let us know. So he said, we had played this weekend-long gig at a ski resort in California called Mammoth. So when I arrived on set, my voice was shot. He says, fortunately, the thing we were shooting the first day was when Sam and Dean first find me where I'm in the house, I'm disheveled, and I'm supposed to have been drinking. So it worked. If you look at those first scenes, you'll think that I'm just playing it up, but I literally didn't have a voice.
That's awesome.
I know, because
That's really
he
good to
really
know.
did like sound kind of croaky.
Raspy? Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it fits.
Yeah. I thought it was acting.
Oh, well, now we know he's not that great of an actor.
He's only kind of good.
Right. So Sam and Dean tell Chuck he's just psychic. And Chuck's like, you think if I was psychic, I would be writing? Writing is hard, which is another like Kripke's just like, come on, guys, just be easy on us. Yeah.
This is really hard.
It's really hard. And Dean asks if Chuck's working on anything right now, and Chuck is like, oh shit. Yeah, I'm working on the latest book, which is very Vonnegut. And Dean
busts out some literary knowledge that why does he have this knowledge? I don't understand.
I don't understand either. Dean's just like, oh yeah, Slaughterhouse 5 Vonnegut or Cat's Cradle Vonnegut.
And I was like, what the fuck? You into like Big Brother kind of books? You read like 1984 or, Fahrenheit 451? Really? Like, what's your deal?
I wonder if like sometime in high school, he was like, you know what's going to get me a lot of chicks is if I read some Vonnegut, you know?
I could see him doing that.
I'm carrying it around or whatever. And he actually got into it.
Right.
I've only read Slaughterhouse 5 myself. I didn't understand anything of it because I read it in high school, I think. But I often use in my own like writing / poetry the term "so it goes" and "unstuck in time."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I took a class that in high school where we read all of those books that were like those kind of Big Brother books. It was like Slaughterhouse 5, 1984, Animal Farm, Fahrenheit 451.
Catch 22, maybe.
No, actually, that one wasn't in there, but it should have been. Harrison Bergeron. And
that's tiring. That's a tiring semester.
I loved it.
Really?
I fucking loved it because I was my angsty teen self and was very damn the man.
God. Yeah.
That was when I was like making my own t-shirts as like a political statement, so it fell right in line with what I wanted to do.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And I was like, see, they're going to take over. They're going to burn our books.
Hey, man, it's happening. Fucking happening.
I mean,
Google Home.
Everybody who has Alexa, throw that shit in the trash.
Yeah. Yeah, they're listening. They're listening.
Anyway.
So Chuck's like, no, it's Kilgore Trout Vonnegut, which means he wrote himself into it.
I haven't
He
read
wrote
that.
himself. I haven't read that either. Yeah. And he wrote himself at the house confronted by his characters.
Oh, shit.
Made me think like, why are you having so much trouble like believing them? Well, I guess it's pretty out there.
Yeah. But now he's like, oh,
right. I was just writing about that.
Yeah.
We next see Sam and Dean in a laundromat, and Dean has some of Chuck's pages, and he's literally reading about himself, sitting in a laundromat, reading about himself in a laundromat while he's sitting in a laundromat reading about himself.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It doesn't get more meta than that.
No, it does not. And he's like so confused. Yeah. But then he reads, as Sam tosses his giant darks into the wash.
Giant darks.
I love it.
The best description of his jeans.
I know.
Ever.
And Sam's like just not having it with any of this. And he turns his back on Dean. And Dean reads, Sam turned his back on Dean, his face brooding and pensive.
It totally is.
Yeah. And Dean's like, I can't see your face right now, but those are definitely your brooding and pensive shoulders.
So cute.
And then Sam kind of sighs to himself while he's still turning away. And Dean reads, you just thought I was a dick.
And he's like, what? How'd you know that?
Yeah,
he's clearly like, thinking that.
Guy's good. That's pretty good writing.
Yeah.
So we go back to Chuck's place and we see like a bunch of empty alcohol bottles, just a big mess. We later find out why he drinks. But he says that his visions, or we see his visions flash during his sleep, and we see Lilith and Sam in a hotel room about to get it on? Question mark?
Yeah, question mark? Or I think at this point we just think it's a lady, right? We don't know who
We
it is yet.
do. That's true. I know that she's Lilith, like when I saw her, so it was kind of hard to but that's absolutely true. We don't know who it is. It's just some woman.
So it's like, what is happening here? What are y'all
Yeah.
doing? Who dat?
And so we see Sam and Dean have returned to Chuck, and he's telling, them that Lilith is coming for Sam tonight. And Chuck reads, Lilith patted the bed seductively. Unable to deny his desire, Sam succumbed, and they sank into the throes of fiery demonic passion. And Sam scoffs at like fiery demonic passion, and Chuck mutters, "Well, it's just a first draft. Like,
It's like, what?
you don't have to be mean about it. Jeez." And Dean's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, Lilith is a little girl. And Chuck's like, no, she's now in a dental hygienist's body.
Yeah, she's like sexy now.
Yeah. So I did read a little bit about their decision to do that. I mean, back in season 3, when they had decided that Lilith would be a little girl, it was basically just like, well, what's scarier than a little girl, essentially? That was kind of their decision making. But we know, as like, because we had read into Lilith, right, her history and everything, that she is sometimes like known as a seductive woman. And so it just made sense. One, because we're like getting to a possible big fight between her and Sam. So, there's going to be violence. And so it's going to be kind of difficult for that violence to be placed onto a 7-year-old child. And 2, because she's supposed to be like seductive in a way, that they decided to change her body, her vessel. So
I think it was
makes
a good
sense.
move, honestly, at this point.
Yeah.
She couldn't stay a little girl forever.
I'm gonna miss that little girl so much.
She was so good.
The delivery of her lines and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're moving forward, and it does make sense for Lilith to be a grown up now. So Chuck explains his quote unquote process. He says it starts with a headache and aspirin is useless, so he just drinks until he falls asleep, and then he dreams everything. And Dean asks for the pages so that they can prepare for whatever's about to happen.
He's like, all right, fine. Let me see your future writing.
Right. So Sam and Dean drive off, and Sam is really fighting the entire thing. He does not want to believe it, which I thought was really interesting. I don't know why he was just fighting it the entire time, like.
I don't either. Actually, now that I think about it, maybe he was afraid and like he was like in denial about it or trying to deny it, because if this guy's been able to predict correctly like everything else that's happened with them, does that also mean he knows what's happening with Sam that he's not telling Dean?
Yeah, that is true, just because later on we do see him go to Chuck just to ask him that question, like, what exactly do you know about me? But
yeah, so this is not the behavior of an innocent man.
Oh yeah, shit. He's just yeah, you're totally right.
I hadn't thought about that, but because of what he asks about later, like that, I feel like that makes sense.
Yeah, he's trying to cover it up.
Like, no, this is drivel.
This is bullshit.
Yeah.
And he's basically like going through the draft as Dean is, driving, and he's like, reading that Dean is going to be hit by a minivan. He's going to wake up with pink flower band-aids, which is totally not believable. And also that like it's going to end up with Dean driving the Impala with a tarp on the back window, so it completely busted out. And he's like, dude, when do you ever like have your Impala like that? Like, no, this is not true at all.
Mm-hmm.
But Dean wants to believe it, and he wants to run. They're not ready to face off with Lilith. But right as Dean says that, they're stopped by a roadblock. A sheriff says, or a cop, whatever, says apparently the bridge has been broken ahead and they're going to have to stay the night. So,
damn it.
Yeah, there's
Not
no
gonna
way
work,
they're
Dean.
getting out of town. Mm-hmm.
No. Can't escape fate.
Yeah.
So far,
I've
anyway.
never been to like any place, I don't think, where it's like there's only one entrance or exit out of this place, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of scary.
No one gets out.
Yeah. So we see them sitting in a diner. Dean is still looking at the pages. He says it's a good thing they have the pages, though, since they're basically a blueprint of how to not get like Lilith, involved and kind of how to stay away from her. So after reading it, he says, one, it says, we're going to have a big fight. So no fighting between us. Which is,
that's cute.
Gonna be hard for them. Yeah. It is cute because we see it like in a little bit, him really trying not to fight. Yeah. Two, no research for Sam. And Sam is kind of like, okay, well, then you can't get a bacon cheeseburger if you really need to do the opposite. Mm-hmm. So the waitress comes over. Sam orders a Cobb salad, and Dean he could have literally ordered anything on that menu that was not a bacon cheeseburger. I don't know. Order a salad.
Something else good.
Order a chicken sandwich. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But he orders a veggie tofu burger.
I mean, I guess that is like the complete opposite. He's really extreme here. Like what? I don't think it's necessary. You could just do different, right? That's all you need to do.
Right. I mean, because at times I like to order vegetarian just for funsies.
Me too.
But I would never order a veggie tofu burger. That sounds really disgusting.
It does. It sounds like cardboard.
Yeah. So Sam says the whole thing is ridiculous, especially the Sam hooking up with the Lilith part. Ooh, but then Dean says, yeah, that's not that crazy. I could believe that would happen.
Ooh.
What?
Rude.
Does Dean really think that? I don't
know. He's still so like weirdly bitter about Ruby.
I know. Even though he was basically
he's like, I don't know, Sam. You would bang a demon,
right? So why isn't Lilith any different? Obviously, Lilith is way different, Dean. You fucking asshole.
Yeah, get your head out of your ass.
And I feel so bad for Sam because he doesn't like say anything against it. He just kind of sits with it. But Sam says they've got to get the jump on Lilith. They have that opportunity for the very first time. And Dean almost like yells at him, but then stops himself to speak his emotions. And he's just like, I'm just very frustrated that you think this, And Sam hits him back with frustration for wanting to hide instead of fight. But just then the waitress comes back to their table with their food. Dean takes a bite of his burger and says it's delicious. Like tofu's delicious. But the waitress rushes over again and she apologizes, saying that she accidentally gave him the bacon cheeseburger.
Can't escape fate.
No.
It's not working out, Dean. Is this working? No.
Yeah, no, this isn't working already. And so like we had kind of had this discussion about fate last episode, right? What does it mean? Uh-huh. Is it actually
and how
fate?
Dean has said that he doesn't believe in it.
Yeah.
But now he's living it.
I don't know. What did you think about that? Because you were kind of like saying before, like there's no such thing as fate, really.
Honestly, I think we're still kind of in the same place. They're still exploring what fate is, if it does really exist, how it functions, what the rules are. And Dean is obviously not an exception to the rule, whatever the rule is. Um, whatever is being predicted for him and Sam is still coming true, no matter what he does or no matter how hard he tries to change it. So at the moment, it's looking like fate is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still subject to it, regardless of whether or not you believe.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting that like even though Dean is trying so hard to go against it, he does make certain decisions that it's just like uh, you should have done something different in order to have really stopped this. And but really, I mean, it couldn't have been stopped in the end because Sam is just so adamant to go along with it. No, despite the fact that he doesn't believe in it, right? Supposedly. Um,
Right.
right.
Whether or
He's
not he
faking
actually
it.
believes. Right. We don't know.
So Sam and Dean pull into the.
Oh, wait, real quick, too. I think I was going to mention we caught when we were watching it the name of the diner they were at.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I forgot to write that down. Yeah. So
I
the
don't
name
remember
of the
what it was. It was,
diner,
yeah.
it's Kripke's Hollow.
Hollow. Okay.
Yeah, which is obviously a reference to Eric Kripke, but it's also a reference to Gilmore Girls, because the town there is called Stars Hollow.
Pretty cute.
Which I really, yeah, it's adorable.
Yeah, we were watching and they had the little placards, the signs like on the table in front of Sam and Dean, and it said Kripke's Hollow, and we were like, "What? Wait, what does that say? What is that?"
It's so good.
Yeah.
So Sam and Dean pull into the Toreador motel. Once they get inside the motel room, Dean sets out hex bags. Sam's just annoyed immediately. He's like, "What am I supposed to do? Stay in the motel all day?" And Dean tells him to just relax, don't do research. And he tells him, use the magic fingers or watch Casa Erotica on pay-per-view.
Ugh.
What did he mean by magic fingers?
Is that what they call the vibrating beds?
Is it? I've
Maybe.
never heard that term before for the
I'm
magic.
gonna do something really bold and Google this. I don't know what I'm going to get.
Please describe everything you see.
Yep. Magic Fingers is a bed relaxation system.
Okay.
I think that's what they call the vibrating. Oh yeah, Magic Fingers vibrating bed on a website called Retro Thing.
I still don't get it. I still don't get the vibrating bed.
Yeah, I don't know. Why is that appealing?
Yeah.
It's a relaxation system, Kristen.
If I could only get a relaxation system.
I know. We're really missing out.
But Dean is going to leave. And since the pages say that he drives his Impala around, he's going to go park the car. But then he leaves. And
yeah, so he's
the
going to go park it somewhere else.
It's already parked. I don't get it.
He's dumb.
Dean.
He doesn't know what he's doing. He's bad at avoiding fate.
Yes, he's very bad at it. I just assumed he wanted to go see Chuck because I was thinking that's where he's going, right?
Yeah.
So Dean drives off, and as he leaves, the Toreador sign flickers and it becomes the Red Motel. So only the R, E, and D are left lit
dun,
up.
Dun dun dun.
So we're in the right place. So we see Dean, he's parked the car somewhere else in like a neighborhood, and he starts walking to a house.
Where he is or what he's doing.
Right. But literally like 5 seconds after he's walked across the street, he turns back and he sees some kids trying to break into his car. It's like, it's pretty bold. Like,
yeah.
He's right there.
They've got a fucking crowbar.
Right.
Ridiculous.
And he starts walking back. He's like, "Hey, like, leave my car alone." And then he gets hit by a minivan. So Yeah, there you go.
Mhm.
At the hotel, Chuck has come over. Sam asks him how much he knows about Sam, if he sees Sam without Dean, or, um, and he's like, "Oh, you want to know if I know about the demon blood?" And Sam's like, "Yeah, so I guess you know about that."
Yeah.
And Chuck's like, "Yeah, I know about it, but I didn't include it in the books since I thought it might look unsympathetic."
Oh,
Which is really interesting.
that is very interesting because that's even something that we've touched on already. Um,
Hmm.
all the stuff that was going on with Sam and it potentially making him look bad to
Yeah.
fans, like to viewers.
Hmm.
It's been tricky.
And that, I don't know. I wonder if Chuck has left out anything else, but just the fact that he's like using his, authorial, power
Mhm.
to like leave that out of the books
Mhm.
because he thinks it's bad. There's something wrong with it.
It's not good
Um,
publicity.
no. And Sam gets like really defensive.
Yeah.
He's like, "Look, I have no choice. I have to do it to stop Lilith." But Chuck says, "But isn't that the point of Dean's, story? Like that's what the angels say, is that Dean is meant to stop the apocalypse from happening."
Yeah.
But Sam's like, "Dean isn't strong enough. He can't do this."
I have a real problem with Sam's attitude about this. I don't know where along the way he decided that he was more capable of handling these things than Dean was. Like, I know in the past, since Dean came back, he's like, you're soft, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because Sam had that time while Dean was gone to become hard. Like, he honed his hunter skills. He was on his own. He had to make his way with Ruby's help, and just figure shit out on his own. But at this point, it's coming across as very condescending and like straight up, like, I don't think Dean's capable of doing this because I'm stronger and better than he is.
Yeah. And I think it's what Chuck says next, because he's obviously very insightful. And he says that maybe he keeps going back to the demon blood because it makes him feel stronger and more in control. And so, like, I think that's a little bit of a clue, right? That Sam's obviously being influenced by the demon blood. Um, it's maybe
Yeah.
changing the way that he feels as well as the way that he, like, you know,
Views
uh,
Dean,
right? That
or
he's,
like his abilities compared to Dean.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I
Um,
could see that.
but maybe because he's ingesting this, like, supernatural substance, just a non-human substance, that it's not just changing him physically, but it's also changing him emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
He's taking more demon inside of him
Mm-hmm.
in some sense. Um, and that's making him a lot more, uh, like act without like a soul almost,
Yeah. Without empathy, for sure.
without empathy. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that that jives for me.
Yeah. So Sam denies that. He's like, "No, it's not that it makes me feel stronger or more in control." Um, and he asks Chuck if he can stop Lilith that night, but Chuck says he doesn't know since he hasn't seen that far yet. So Dean wakes up and after being hit from the minivan, and he sees stars, which was another part of the writing. So it's the driver's earrings. And then her daughter has put pink flower band-aids on his face. So I thought all of this, like what's happening to Dean, was really interesting because it seemed like the way Chuck had written it, it was like he literally, like, he sees stars like, Looney Tunes characters, or like more metaphorically rather than literally.
Yeah, but it all ends up happening in some way or another. It's just a little different.
it's just a little different. And so I don't know. I wonder how much else in his books is it can be like misinterpreted
Yeah.
from what
Yeah.
really happened.
Like you would imagine it in your head differently.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
I
interesting.
want
I
those
don't know.
books.
I want them too. It would be great to read them.
I
Yeah.
want them.
So Dean gets up and he sees the Impala's back window is completely broken. And then we see him drive off with a tarp on the window and he just looks so pissed.
He's so mad.
So Chuck gets home with some more booze and he finds Dean. And Chuck asks him how he knows everything. Or rather, Dean asks Chuck how he knows everything and like slams him against the wall. And then Cass appears behind him and tells him to let him go. This man is to be protected, he says. He says he's a prophet of the Lord.
Damn. So that's just, it was like all of a sudden, like shit's going down. Like Cass appears, like, hey, buddy, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And
Why
then
are you here?
I'm sorry. What did you just say about this scruffy drunk?
Yeah. He's who?
A prophet? A pervert?
Yeah.
It was crazy.
And Chuck recognizes
But I was
him
also, at the
Cass.
same time, I was like, yes, a prophet. That's cool.
I know.
I love that.
It's a great addition. And it's why, like, we've named our prophecies and not just predictions, you know?
You're clever, girl. I didn't get it.
I had that knowledge way back when. And we finally know now in season 4. So Chuck like instantly recognizes that it's Cass. And Cass says that he admires his work. And then he picks up one of the books. This like trashy novel. He's just like, oh, this is everything.
He's like treasuring it. I admire your work. And you're like, wow.
Yeah.
That was in the bargain bin.
Yeah, that was for on clearance. Dean asks Chuck, like, hey, did you know that you're a prophet? And Chuck says, yeah, I dreamt about it, but he didn't believe it since he felt it was like a little bit too arrogant, which it's like, okay, so you felt that was too arrogant, but you didn't feel like writing yourself in the books was too arrogant.
Yeah.
And then Cass says the most amazing thing, which is that one day these books will be known as the Winchester Gospel.
Love it.
I love it. I love it so much.
The Book of Winchester.
The Book of Winchester. It's going to be part of the New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
And then like Chuck just freaks out at that and basically like skitters up the stairs like, I don't know. Like
get away from me, you crazy people.
Yeah. And Dean's like, seriously, like this guy is a fucking prophet? And Cass is like, well, you should have seen Luke. Like he's pretty crazy too.
That's so awesome. That makes me want to see Luke. Like, whoa,
I know.
what was his deal?
Yeah, what did he look like? And so Dean asks how Chuck gets selected, and Cass says he doesn't know since that list comes from very high up the chain. Dean asks how the prophecy can be changed, but Cass says that what has been written can't be unwritten. So there's no going around it. At that point, Dean gets back to the motel to see the red motel sign. He's like, oh, fuck. Like, no, yeah, it's happening. He tells Sam that they need to get the fuck out of there. And Dean looks around and sees that the hex bags are gone. And Sam says that he burned them. So Sam is just like,
deliberately playing with fire.
Done. Yeah. And I guess like Dean should have known this since wishful thinking, right? Sam. So he asked Sam, what's one thing that you would wish for?
Yeah.
And Sam is just like, oh, to basically get a crack at Lilith, you know?
Yep. And now he knows he's going to get a chance. So, of course, he's going to try and take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dean explains to Sam that Chuck is a prophet and that's how he knows everything. And they get into this argument, and Sam asks Dean if he really thinks that he'll go dark side. And Dean says yes. The way he's been acting, the things he's been doing, And Sam like looks at him like, oh shit, like did fucking Chuck tell you? Like, oh man, like he's nervous.
Thinks he knows for a
He
second.
thinks he knows. And then Dean is like, that Sam ripped Alistair apart like nothing. That Cass had told him that. But that's, that's it. They don't know how Sam has been getting stronger, and not even Cass knows that, which I thought was interesting. Like Cass knew
Why
that,
wouldn't he know?
right? They had been following Sam. They knew that he was using his powers, but they aren't watching him closely enough to see that he's um feeding on demon blood.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why they wouldn't be able to see that.
Yeah, I don't know. Unless like Ruby is putting up some sort of protection.
Demon walls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dean gets all of his stuff and he asks if Sam is going, and Sam says no. And Dean is about to leave with his stuff, but then he throws down his bag and he walks out. So he goes to a vending machine and he's really pissed. He like punches the machine and he turns around and starts praying. He's like, I can't believe I'm about to do this, but I really need some help.
I loved this. It was really unexpected. And
It was
for
vulnerable.
me, like, yeah, vulnerable. And it also just like showed me that he's all in. Like he gets the angel thing now. He gets the fucking apocalypse thing now.
Mm-hmm.
He is not trying to fight it anymore. He's trying to use it, it being like the situation, this like heaven and hell struggle that he's caught up in.
Yes.
He's just,
that obviously the events at the end of It's a Terrible Life have changed him a little bit.
He's all in.
Down. Yeah. So Cass appears behind him and tells him that it's a good sign. That he's starting to believe, that he's starting to have faith in praying and all of that. And Dean asks Cass to drag Sam out of that room before Lilith shows up. But Cass says he can't interfere with a prophecy. And Dean says Cass has done so much to Dean, but he's never asked for help. So he's basically like guilt tripping him right here. And Cass says it's not his fault. Like it's not within his power to do so. He can't do anything. It's prophecy. And Cass says he's sorry, but Dean threatens him at this point. He's like, if you don't help me now, then when he needs Dean for whatever this prophecy is saying, the apocalypse, whatever, Dean isn't going to help.
Yeah. Tough shit.
Yeah. And Dean turns to leave, but just then Cass calls to him and tells him that if anything were to threaten a prophet, an archangel will appear to destroy that threat. And archangels are fierce and absolute, he says. And Dean's, following along, and he's like, okay, so if a prophet was in the same room as a demon, and Cass is like, yup, wink, wink.
That would mean he was in grave danger. Wink. Yeah, it's awesome.
And Dean thanks him. So Cass saving the day with this bit of knowledge,
Mm-hmm. And I like when they, like, I've seen that kind of scene device used before in other movies where, there's like a character who can't give something away. So they just like say what they can to help someone figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's something like that in Batman or something. I can't remember what scene I'm trying to recall that's like that, but I've definitely seen that used before, and it's always so like, ooh, cool. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no, I know. And
Got
it's like,
it.
oh,
Message
I
received.
get it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Dean shows up at Chuck's place and he tells him to get up. He explains to him that if Lilith shows up with him around, an archangel will appear. And Chuck's like, no, I can't fight. I can't do anything. And Dean tells him that he needs to. But, he needs to get up off his ass. He's in this. All of this is real and he's at the center of it. Mm-hmm. But Chuck seems as if he's about to like stir up some courage and to do it, but he's like, no, I can't. No, please don't don't make me, So Dean threatens to blow his brains out if he doesn't go with him.
That was a bit extreme.
Yeah, but it's Sam. I get it. He's
You mean
like,
it's Dean? Oh,
yeah, like Dean is worried about Sam,
gotcha.
so he's going to do everything it takes.
Take any measure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So at the motel, Sam hears a knock at the door, but when he opens it, nobody is outside. He closes it and turns around to find Lilith in this like young blonde woman's body. And Lilith asks him where the demon knife is. So they have it. Weren't we like talking about like, hey, where is it?
Yeah.
Because they had gotten it back, but then we hadn't seen it for a while, I guess.
Yeah, I think we were confused about where it was.
Yeah.
When, like, with the whole Alistair thing, because he had it.
Yes, he had it, but they had gotten it back when Anna became an angel, got her grace back. But during on the head of a pin, there was like a knife that
Dean was using during the torture. So maybe like the angels had it for a little bit, and then they were like, "Here, Dean, you can use it for torture purposes," and so he just kept it.
I guess, yeah. So it just got passed on that way.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can figure.
So Sam says it's on the nightstand by the bed. And she, is about to walk over, but she stops right where a devil's trap is hidden by a rug, which is real smooth, Sam. Real smooth. No. I wish he would have hidden it under the bed, or
yeah, like on the underside of the bed.
Yeah.
So you couldn't see it if you looked underneath. It wouldn't be on the floor.
Right.
Yeah.
So she says he'll need to try a lot harder than that. And then Sam is like, oh, yeah? What about this? And then he like raises his hand and tries to use his powers, but it just like makes her hair flow in the wind.
Mm-hmm. Just a nice little flutter, a breeze.
Doesn't do anything.
I feel like he should have known that though.
Well, yeah. And she says, you're not strong enough yet. But I guess we've just been assuming that like Lilith and Alistair were at the same level. But
okay, but also I was going to say, I feel like he should have known that because when he went to go take care of Alistair, he did the demon blood thing right before to like charge himself up.
That's true.
But he didn't do that this time. So wouldn't he have known like he wouldn't have been able to get that same power through?
Yeah, unless like no, I don't think it works, right? We've already established that the way it works is he has to keep on replenishing that strength, that power.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sam.
I thought that was like kind of dumb. Like you should have known that you wouldn't have been able to take her right. Yeah, because you didn't prepare. You didn't do the gross demon blood ritual.
So Lilith offers Sam a stalemate where she'll give up the seals, everything, the apocalypse. And Lucifer will continue to rot in his cage, she says. And he's like, why? Like, why would you do that? And she says, well, it turns out I don't survive this war. Killed off right before the good part starts.
How does she know that?
Yeah, who told her that? Mm-hmm. Is that part of a prophecy?
Mm-hmm.
Or
and then how did she get her hands on it? I don't know.
I don't know either. So
I don't like it.
I know. So let's keep an eye on that because that's interesting. Sam says, "What's in it for her?" And she says, "Well, things will go back to the way things were." And he asks this like a couple of times. Well, what does she get in return?
Right.
I think he asked this like 3 times because he's
still basically
like
the same way. Because it's, I mean, I get it. Like you're trying to figure out why she's doing this,
right? Because it doesn't make sense. Why would she do that?
But it's silly.
So she says, well, she would get Sam and Dean's deaths. So they would have to die in order for her to stop doing all of this, which is like, well, how do I know that you would actually stop? I don't know. It's not great logic.
No, it's not a good deal. This is not, it doesn't sound solid.
No, but Lilith is like, their lives are not worth saving over 6 billion people, you know. And Sam says he'll take that deal just based on that. Uh, but Lilith is like, well, this deal needs more than just a kiss. And she goes over to the bed and pats it, and she says, don't worry, the dental hygienist inside of me wants it bad.
Ugh.
Which is so gross.
Yeah, that's not okay, Lilith.
No, it's not. There's such a thing as called consent, Lilith. Hello.
Right. Yeah, get with it.
So Sam walks over and he leans down on the bed with her. And right before we think he's going to like kiss her, he grabs a demon knife to try and stab her. But she gets the best of him right away. She turns it around on him. And just then, Dean breaks down the door and Chuck runs in and he yells, "I am the prophet Chuck."
I love that so much. I am the prophet Chuck. Like, okay, that's not.
No.
It doesn't really like instill fear.
It doesn't. But all of a sudden, the motel room starts shaking. It fills with light. And Dean tells her that she's got a few seconds to get out of there before an archangel shows up. And then we see demon smoke just escape out of her mouth and she leaves the body on the floor.
I was disappointed because I wanted to see an archangel. I hope we get to see one sometime.
I know. I was really excited to see one as well.
Because I was remembering back in that episode, Houses of the Holy.
Uh-huh.
When they talked about the Archangel Michael.
Yes.
And that was so sweet. And I hoped then that we would get to see an archangel. And then there was like that like miracle at the end with the truck that Dean witnessed that was so awesome. I just really wanted that so bad. It sounded awesome.
Yeah.
And we were so close this time. We saw like some of the effects of one coming, and then it was like, no, just kidding. We're good now.
Yeah, we're fine. Yeah. So I'm trying to see. There's different like lists of archangels, and I'm not sure because like one of them is supposed to be supposedly Uriel, but I don't think our Uriel was an archangel.
Yeah, no, he couldn't have been.
So, but Michael is listed as an archangel for sure.
I want to see them.
Yeah. So later we see Sam and Dean talking about it. And Sam has told Dean about it all, about what Lilith said, this deal. And Dean says if Sam thought about taking it, but Sam says no. However, Sam says that Lilith was right about her not surviving the apocalypse because he's going to fucking kill her, So he's being all macho about it.
Yeah. Real aggressive. Okay, Sam.
Sure, Sam. So we cut to Chuck and he's dreaming a bunch of stuff, but we don't see what it is this time. He wakes up and then we see Zachariah there. And he asks him, "Did you see it?" And Chuck is like, "Yeah. Is that real? Is that really going to happen?" And Zachariah is like, "Yep." And Chuck wants to warn Sam and Dean, but Zachariah tells him no, that fate has to happen. So Chuck asks, what is he supposed to do? And Zachariah says, to write. And there's a moment where like Chuck is like, "Oh, let me just go and kill myself."
Yeah,
because I can't sit with this. But Zachariah says, "Yeah, if you kill yourself, we're just going to keep on bringing you back."
Which is real fucked up. Like, I kind of like questioned when we were watching it if they can even do that. Like,
yeah.
Because it's a weird process so far that we're seeing. Like, someone from up on high selects a prophet. This person is kind of cursed with the ability to foresee. And it's very painful for them. It makes them a little crazy. And then, like, the angels can be in contact with them. And he's just telling him like you have to keep going even if you kill yourself too bad, we're just going to bring you back. Like it's weird
Right.
that the death of a prophet, no matter how it happened, wouldn't just end that prophet.
Right.
How
Especially
are you able to bring them back and still have that be like a thing? I don't know.
yeah. I don't know, especially considering that Cass had said that there's like a list.
Yeah. So, and we know that in the past, there prior to Chuck in the Bible, prophets are a thing. So one, you know, succeeds the other.
Right.
So if he dies, wouldn't there just be another prophet chosen?
It's basically Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a Slayer
Yeah.
line
Yeah.
situation.
Right. That's what I
So
would assume it was like.
so maybe he was just like bluffing to be an asshole about it,
Yeah, maybe.
like
Well,
but
we know he's kind of a dick. I mean, I guess the whole
yeah.
"it's a terrible life" exercise worked, but that was rough.
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully it wasn't too rough. It was just kind of, um, I don't know, just a scenario to put them into. It wasn't like emotionally fucked up, really. But it was still like, ooh, you went to extremes to prove your point.
Yeah, you did. So a lot happened in this episode. What do you think? What were your final thoughts on it?
Um, I don't know. It was really important.
What do you think Chuck saw?
Like at the end,
Yeah.
I I have no clue. I can't begin to guess, honestly. With the information I have so far, I'm not sure. Um, it was a really good episode, and it was really important. We're on a Google Doc. I can see your little cursor up there in the top 10. What you doing?
I
What are
accidentally
you
clicked
thinking?
there.
Oh, no, just kidding. If you say so.
But I honestly do see it
Yeah, up there.
up there. God, but where? But where? I have no idea.
I kind
I
of think this is even more important than, I mean, on the head of a pin, dream a little dream of me. On the head of a pin is number 7. Dream a little dream is 6. No rest for the wicked is 5.
hmm,
I know what you did last summer. Heaven and hell.
I kind of see it like
What happened in heaven and hell again? Oh, that was the Anna
uh-huh.
episode. Lazarus Rising was which one? Oh, the first episode of this season. Yeah, yeah, yeah. A mystery spot. Yeah, it's right up there,
It's
honestly.
pretty up there, I think. Kind of see it as either the new number 2 or 3. Um I the reason why I'm like leaning more towards number 3 is just because Lazarus Rising and Mystery Spot are just such pivotal moments in the series. It's
Yeah,
kind of
well,
like
and Mystery Spot, like that's at number 1 for us. And it was, even though this episode was really well written, it wasn't quite as like completely moving to me as Mystery Spot was.
mm-hmm.
That episode just grabs you and holds you the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's really, and you think about it later, and it's just really impactful. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, I'm trying to decide whether or not I like this one better or not than Lazarus Rising.
Well,
How do you feel about that?
Lazarus Rising, I mean, we start with like Dean climbing out of his coffin.
Mm-hmm.
And we end it with like Cass walking in with those fucking angel wings and telling us, hey, by the way, there are such things as angels.
Yeah, that was huge.
And it just puts us on this like whole different trajectory for the show that is still going on for today until
Yeah.
today, you know?
Yeah, and this also kind of like sets us on a different course, or it like, resets the stage, but it's still within what we've found out because of that episode. So yeah, I could see it as the new number 3 instead of Heaven and Hell.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I totally concur with that. Okay, so the monster at the end of this book is going in as the new number 3, and this one's going in the trunk.
And I was just looking at this. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the episodes in our top 10 are from this season, and we're not even done.
No. It's
That's
interesting because this
bonkers.
season has been so amazing. I am surprised to see that there have been a few that we have put kind of like in the middle, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like we've
lower.
done 78 in total, and which is such a large number. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're really getting up there.
But I mean, yeah, a lot of them are still at the top. So what I was about to say about the season is that we have the next episode is called Jump the Shark. And it's kind of like a little detour from the storyline, but it's something that is, like pretty crazy. Stuff that happens. But then after that, we have 3 episodes where it's just like, oh shit, this is the finale, you know? It's like all at the same time. It's like it's a consecutive storyline instead of like the monster of the week format. So
Yeah.
I'm really
That's exciting.
excited about that. Yeah. As it takes us into the finish.
Cool. Well, the only thing that I would want to just mention more that stood out to me about this episode was Cass was much more involved. Like, I love that we keep seeing him slowly get kind of more and more pulled into what's happening with Sam and Dean.
Mm-hmm.
And he clearly, like, even though we know angels don't feel emotions the way that humans do, he wants to. I think it seems like he wants to. And he does, like, it seems like he feels some empathy for Dean.
Mm-hmm.
That moment where Dean was praying, he wanted to be able to help him. And so he found a way, he's like working around the rules to try to help.
Because at this point, I mean, the entire structure of his existence is kind of broken.
Yeah.
After what happened with Uriel. So
right. So who can he trust? What are they doing?
He's definitely changing, where he's more interested in helping Sam and Dean out. It's really interesting.
And I love it. They've got an angel on their side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do.
He's not just a dick anymore. So yeah, that's all. It was great. I really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, me too. Okay. Well, until next time, we'll see you on the highway to hell.
Bye.
Bye.